How many of you have walked on a dirt road where there's no sounds of cars, no noise? All there is the sound of the air moving through whatever vegetation there is. Do you remember the crunch underneath your feet as the stones and the rhythm of your walk just resounded to you? Have you ever walked on a road into a strong headwind where it seems like that resistance is there and you feel it? Have you ever walked into the coming of a storm into that headwind, and every little bit that headwind got harder and more firm? Every step had to be measured. Everything was there, even to the point that now the dirt is hitting you in the face. It's hard to even breathe. And you see that storm coming, and you keep going. You keep moving. You have to get home. Have you ever walked in the midst of a snowstorm to where the winds and the gusts are coming at you in so many ways, and then as you start the journey, it seems like every 10 feet, it gets harder to pick up your feet, put your feet down. The snow continues to grow, and the drifts get higher, and even breathing becomes harder and harder. I think today, with our modern conveniences of the car and the automobile, possibility that some young men and women have no idea what I'm talking about. They've never made it beyond the basement and their gaming machine. They have no idea that there is a world out there that they're going to have to walk through, and those analogies that I'm using is going to be life as it throws things at you. Unexpected things with which you wonder, can I take a step? Dale and I had the privilege Friday night to go over and participate at least in Friday night. Did you go Saturday? You said you weren't going. Okay, anyway. We got to meet a man from, I won't even try and say the name, Waxahachie, Texas. Am I saying that right, Texas? Waxahachie. He said it. Okay, Waxahachie Bailey was his name. No, Steve. In it, he spoke to what we've been speaking about for a number of years now, to bring us back to the roots of who we are, the people that we were called to be, and the kind of people that the world needs. Bill, in this series from letters written a long time ago to Thessalonica, as they spoke to those people who were facing the headwinds and the drifts and all the problems of just walking forward with all the things that their world was throwing at them, all the things that their misguided family was throwing at them, all the things that their misguided spouse is throwing at them, all the terrible things that their children in their choices are destroying their very breath as they choose Satan and the delusion of Satan. All those things, sometimes It's hard to put one foot in front of the other, yes or no? It's easy for us to become discouraged. And yet in the midst of that, Paul says these words. How many times did you read it this morning, Marcus? I don't know. But I think we all need to read and understand. Stand fast. Stand fast. Your child may go a direction as misguided as that is and choose a darkness with which you yourself came out of, and hope that maybe by your own life that they would see how awful that life is. And yet you see them dashing down that world of pleasure. There are many things that dishearten us. There are many things that are hurting everybody that we're in. And Steve Bailey, in his lessons, and the title of the lesson, I don't know what the whole theme was, Love Never Fails. Love never fails. Love never fails. And yet so often, when we encounter the people of the world, we don't talk to them about the love of a God that never fails. We'll talk about their doctrine, if they're of another faith, about how wrong it is and how right our traditions and doctrines are. Sometimes we miss the heart of who we are. Our children miss the heart of who we are. That ancient statement, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your mind, your soul, and strength, and teach it to your children as you go, as you sit, as you stand, as you walk, as you lay down. We focus upon why we're different. And maybe in all of the noise, and maybe many fellowships are like this, what the world never hears, love never fails. Love never fails. And we invite people to go to our church, become acquainted with our church, versus come join us. We have discovered love never fails. And that's our hope. Love never fails. He never fails us. And that is who we are. You want to know who we are in our fellowship? We're a group of men and women and young people who are rallying around this one hope and promise. In a world full of darkness and perversion, clinging to love never fails. God so loved the world. Jesus loved, and over, Jesus' admonition was, love one another. Love one another. Jim's song, when he led it, it's become something with which we identify you, Jim, as. Because it's more than a song to me as I've got to know you. This is not just a song to you. Have you lifted a stone from your brother's way as he struggled along life's way? You can identify with those people who are walking into the headwinds on that roadway and things are hard. That was an important thing that I grabbed from what Steve said Friday night when I went and Dale abandoned me. Anyway. Are we looking? Are we looking? He gave an analogy. He says, did you notice that person who came in by themselves, left before everyone else, sits by themselves? Are you looking? Are you seeing those people who have endured and are going through what God brought you out of, because in your life that love has changed you and is guiding you and it's holding you, and you can do life and you can face the headwinds because love never fails. Have you lovingly touched some frail, toil-worn hand? Have you shared someone's heavy load? Have you just spoken a word full of hope and cheer? Have you slowed down and started walking a slower pace till the weary of heart who are stumbling on took courage to run a race? You want your children to make the right decision? Are you even making yourself available? Are you recognizing when they fall? How are you handling that? Love never fails. Love never fails. They don't need your criticism, do they? They know they blew it. They don't need a reminder that, oh, you did it again, kid. What they need to hear is, I struggle with the same thing. When a man, a giant, an oak, talks about, I struggle with my faith. I struggle. I'm not what I want to be. I'm not who I want to be. I'm not who I am. Love never fails. I'm standing. I'm standing. I could go on, and this is kind of a sidebar to what I wanted to talk about. I was just deeply moved this morning by the lesson together. I was deeply, deeply moved. I was deeply moved by the conversation that Steve Bailey had with us. And I wanted to cry. I wanted to stand up and I wanted to say, men, do you understand what he's saying? God so loved the world. God wants to be known and followed because of his love. Jesus loved so much, gave so much. He wants us to know and see and feel and understand his faith in a God when he acknowledges, I can do nothing on my own. I can't do this alone. Is that how the world sees us as a church? Or do they see one of the slides he put up, which was these grumpy looking people looking all soured like that? When they look at us, what do they see? A critical, negative, harsh. What do they see? Oh, you're not good enough. Oh, Bill, I heard Bill. He's not all that much. He even admitted before the church he wasn't all that he's supposed to be. Ah. And I heard a giant in God's kingdom saying the one words, the only words that matter. It's not about me. His love never fails. You know, it wasn't an easy journey for Jesus. You do know that, don't you? That journey on all those roads to a place of death to somehow or another find you and me. Why did he do it? He was hunting for you and me, so that through him we could learn and understand love never fails. What does my wife need to know in my behavior? Love never fails. He walked many roads, and in that time, walking seemed to be the chosen or the only way for the people who didn't have much could get from point A to point B, right? And that wasn't, anybody know about the climate over there? Huh? It is like here. And so, summertime, he went inside to the air conditioner, right? See, he walked many roads, all leading to the cross with which we focus upon. But if the cross doesn't accomplish what he wanted, which was to somehow or another show us, this is what love looks like. This is a love that will never fail you. A cross to an empty tomb. So what does love look like? In your life, can you please tell me what it is that you do that is intentional? One of the words that Steve spoke about, intentionally loving. Intentionally loving. We've gotten pretty comfortable in saying, well, that's not my personality. That's not what I'm comfortable with. And he used a term which he says is common down there in Texas. He called it crusty. Is that right, Bill? Is that a word down there you Texans used? Crusty? Old crusty. I got this feeling of this old crusty. I don't show my emotions. I don't talk my emotions. I don't teach my emotions, but I'm sure good at saying what I disagree with. I am really just crusty. So what does love look like? What should we look like when we say we're the church and love is absent? We're not looking intentionally for ways with which we can do what we just sang about. Do we like this song? We say, oh, that's Jim's song. It makes me all gushy because I love my brother. God brought him to me, and we've walked many journeys. We've been through some terrible, terrible, difficult times together, and it bonded us. But if we sing that song, and that's all the further it goes, if that's all we do is sing that song, we are to be pitied. We are the Lord's church. And if any group of people should be known for what he was, who he was, and what he was, when Jesus declared God is love. What else do you want to represent you? Well, we don't sing with an instrument. So what? That's it? That's what makes you distinctive? Well, we have 5 acts of worship. We focus on Sunday morning, of which Jesus never spoke a whisper. Not one word spoken. What did he emphasize? We should be emphasizing what he emphasized, which is what? Love one another. He made another interesting term that every preacher in the room, I think, and even Dale, I think, wrote down when he talked about us, the people of the church. We are God's delivery system of love. In your home, you are God's delivery system of love. To that person trapped in sin, mired and struggling along the way, you are God's delivery system of love. I loved it. And I bet this morning every preacher who is giving a lesson this morning probably using this and stealing that term because that's who we are. So how will the world find God if we're busy talking about us, the church? How will they find God if it's all about us? See, I believe with all of my heart, and you've known that for some time. And in talking to Steve briefly that I had, I appreciated where his heart was. He knew that the church doesn't save anybody. We have nothing to do with it unless we are God's delivery system for love, for lifting a load, for being a caring person. Only through our love. And we found God through his love, yes or no? If everything that we stand for and the reason we're here and the communion that we took, if we don't understand that as we took that little emblem into ourselves, that represented Jesus Christ and all that he did, that little teeny sip representing his blood, if that isn't love, and we have a song that we sing, If That Isn't Love, Ernestine's favorite song. Isn't it funny how you get to a point where you start identifying different songs? He says, on the way to the cross, he says, I'm going to die for you. Matthew 16:21. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples he must go to Jerusalem. And he must suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes. And he must be killed and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside. He must have been part of the church. And began to rebuke him, saying, Far be it from you, Lord. This shall never happen to you. Or as we say in some of our business meetings, over my dead body. But he turned and he said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me. Your attitudes are a hindrance to me. For you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man. The church of all people should be focused upon the words of God. We should be meditating deeply on what we looked at just from a letter to the church at Thessalonica. We should be reading them over and over and over and over again until they become a part of us. Because we can be a part of the people of the delusion real easy. Or we can be the people who live by, love never fails. I will stand. I will stand fast. Again, in Matthew 17, as they were gathering in Galilee, the second time Jesus said to them, The Son of Man is about to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him, and he will be raised on the third day. And the people were distressed. At least this time, Peter didn't rebuke him. And again, as Jesus was going to Jerusalem, Matthew 17:17, he took the 12 disciples aside, and on the way he said to them, See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and they will deliver him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified, and he will be raised on the third day. On this road to the cross, and all those journeys all over that country, it amazes me that 2,000 years later, we sit here reflecting upon the power of the words that came from him. What happens, it's so easy we could get caught up, and we could be talking about the church and why we're unique and why we're special and why we do what we do, and we're better than that church because they don't do what we do, and miss the message spoken over and over and over again by our Lord Jesus Christ. Because every step that he took, from his first step onto those paths on those dirty roads. Every step he took was fulfilling an ancient prophecy. You need to know who Jesus was. You need to walk with him in such a way and lean into his studies. And if there's anything you need to know who Jesus was. But more importantly, his words. His words you must know. You mentioned this morning, some people make a big deal about Palm Sunday. Next week is supposed to be Easter on the calendar. At the end of that road, as he rode in there, he got on a donkey this time, and as he rode into town, and people were yelling, Hosanna. They saw a miracle worker, a hero, a champion, a leader to take him away from the Roman oppression. But see, Jesus saw the whole road. He saw what they couldn't. He saw what he saw from the first step. He knew that as he got closer and closer to this moment, that wind I talked about was blowing in his face. I would ask Chris, as he's made this decision to try and bring some hope to his community and his county, are those winds of adversity starting to blow in your face? See, we make a decision, we step out there, and what's interesting, that wind comes from places we didn't expect. And our resolve and all that stuff. Well, Chris, I will tell you this much, what we learned today is a good and faithful thing that you're doing, my brother. Stand firm. Keep your face in the wind. See, he saw the betrayals and the nails, didn't he? He's told them 3 times. He's told the same group of people, and they still aren't getting it. He saw the nails. And yet, he walked on. See, the road that he chose and the road we choose, I really feel badly when we don't tell young people, what their life is going to look like in God's kingdom. They can be a churchgoer and not face any adversity. I got that. I understand that. And a lot of us choose that. Yet he knew what he was facing. He knew where he was going. When a father picks up the mantle and says, I am going to begin teaching as I sit, as I walk, as I stand, as I lay down, you're going to be facing adversity. The road he was on, and our road, doesn't lead away from pain, but towards it. The road doesn't go away from death or a cost, but straight through it. This road was not to claim a throne, but to carry a cross. And he said, before you pick up your cross, count the cost. How many of us have married a woman and never gave any consideration to the spiritual journey that they may be joining? They even consider it. See, love doesn't run away. Stand firm, stand fast. Love doesn't run away. Love walks that road of meeting other people's needs. Everything that Jesus did, every step he took, I believe was a declaration of love. It was the beginning of the most important journey in human history. The road to the tomb, towards salvation itself, the road was straight to the cross to find you and me. See, love has a price. We can sing your song, Jim, but it means that we're going to have to provide effort to someone else. We're going to have to decide, do I really love? You know, on his final days to this point in Jerusalem, in the final days before he heals 2 blind men, he teaches the greatest lesson that we just studied a few weeks ago on servant leadership. It says that those amongst the Gentiles exercise authority over others, but it will not be so amongst you. He who would be greatest amongst you will be servant of all. Fathers, men, your life is servantship, not tellership. And we're good at telling people things. It's another thing to say, I will lead my wife. I will submit myself. I will serve. One of the things that Steve talked about, and it struck me because it's where I'm living right now. He asked the question, have you learned how to love? We use the term love. We throw it around and say, oh, yeah. So he took us to 1 Corinthians 13. And here's the challenge, and I will close with this. Do you know what love is? Because he says, love is patient. No, I'm not so patient. Okay, but you just said you love, so we'll put this over here. Love is kind. Well, I'm not so much. Sometimes I'm crusty. He kept going back to that Texas word, crusty. Okay, we'll put that over there. Now, I'm putting my own spin on it. He didn't do that. Love does not envy. Never boasts. Never draws attention to moi. Well, I don't do so good on that. Let's put it over there. It is not arrogant or prideful. Well, are you proud? Are you arrogant? You think you're something you're not? Well, I'm working on that. Put that over there. It's not rude. It does not insist on its own way. It's not irritable. Oh my goodness. Or resentful. And the people of God who are reading this, and we can go on and see it all, it doesn't rejoice in wrongdoings, rejoices with truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, love never ceases. Brothers and sisters, he asks a question. And I sat there, and maybe it was just me. Here we have a description of love. Have you learned how to love? Do you take 1 Corinthians 13, a few short verses there, and live in it every day? To everything that you said that day, to your friends, your neighbors, your wife, your kids, whatever, do you then look at that and say, I got work to do? Or do we read it, we get moved by it when some preacher or somebody brings it up, and we're stirred by it, but we put it back on the shelf. And Steve implied, and I don't know if he developed it more on Saturday, that the reality of it is you have to learn how to love. Because until those things, or portions of those things, that we know are holding us back, and we're not yearning for those things, hungering and thirsting for those things, we will always be made guilty when somebody reads it, but yet he says, what's the point? He didn't say it. This is my words. What is the point in God saying, this is love? Learn it. Everything that you do and say, run it through this. All the things we may say, you and I. All the things we can do, you and I. Lifting a load. And I was stunned by the reality, and it's almost, I had my own little epiphany in that room with all of those guys sitting there, and asked myself the question, have I learned love? Do I yearn to learn love? Am I an expert on the book of Romans, but haven't learned love? Can I teach all prophecies, but have not love? See, he starts with some explanations, doesn't he, in this? So I was moved by that. And I leave you with this thought, church. John 15:12. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. 1 John 4:7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Romans 12:10. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Ephesians 4:2. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient. Bear with one another in love. But I tell you, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. The whole world will know you are my disciples. Fathers, leaders, members of the church. You want the world to know Jesus, right? We want the world, what we studied about this morning, to be saved, right? Well, the truth matters, unless they meet the love that never fails, we could potentially just create churchgoers, right? We could potentially be everything except, and showing, oh, the things you could do, you and I. But God shows his love for us in that. While we were sinner, God shows his love for us. And that while we were still sinners, Christ walked a path. Christ walked a lonely journey to a place so that he could fulfill what God wanted him to say. Please show them by your actions how much you love. And that, brothers and sisters, is an indictment. We want this church to be seen to the world, I hope, for the love. But in showing that love, we also have a path that we'll have to walk. An intentional path, so that they can learn the love of God through what he's done for us. Yes or no? The lesson is yours. If you have anything you would like to share or stand after we sing this song, or you want to recommit your life to Christ, whatever, do that at the end of this song. Jim?
Let's sing verse 1, verse